swear, sometimes you just want to grab people by the shoulders and yell, "Do you even hear yourself?" That's exactly how I felt when this woman, Pia, decided my family's marshmallow hunt was her personal customer service desk. It was a Tuesday night, post-work rush, and my wife Sarah and I were hustling through Wacky Mart for some dinner supplies. We'd already wasted precious minutes realizing Sarah had grabbed the fancy name-brand marshmallows instead of our usual budget-friendly store brand. So there I was, in the baking aisle, daughter in tow, trying to quickly snag the right bag so we could just get home already. I was scanning the shelves, already mentally calculating how much time this marshmallow detour was costing us when this woman barrels up. She was probably in her mid-30s, dressed like she was still trying to get into college parties. Think too tight denim, a questionable amount of glitter, and a fierce expression. She just assumed I worked there. "No, excuse me. No, do you know where?" Just a clipped. "You. Where are your gluten-free artisanal sprinkles?" I looked down at my daughter, who was clinging to my leg, then back at her. "Sorry, ma'am, but I actually have my hands full right now. I don't work here." I said it politely, really. I even gestured to the overflowing basket I was nudging with my foot. But polite wasn't in her vocabulary. Her eyes narrowed. "What do you mean you don't work here? You're standing here. I'm a customer and I need help now." She said now like it was a royal decree, puffing her chest out. "I'm a customer too." I tried, a little smile twitching. "And you're a stranger. I'm just trying to find some marshmallows for my kids, and then we need to go." That's when she really leaned in, practically spitting. "Oh, so your wife's marshmallows are more important than a paying customer." "Seriously, I'm trying to buy something important here." I honestly just stared. My wife's marshmallows, this lady was something else. "Look, I'm not helping you. I don't work here," I reiterated, my voice getting firmer. I could feel my daughter clinging a little tighter, and I just wanted this bizarre interaction to end. She started puffing herself up, throwing around vague threats. "I'll just go find your manager then. I'll call corporate. You'll be sorry you treated a customer this way." All the usual buzzwords, but delivered with such conviction, you'd think she actually had a leg to stand on. I just shook my head slowly, turned, and started pushing my cart down the aisle. I wasn't going to waste another second arguing with her. I just wanted my store-brand marshmallows and to get out. We finally found the right marshmallows, zipped through self-checkout, and just as we were about to walk away, I hear it. That familiar nails-on-a-chalkboard voice. "Excuse me." It was Pia, of course. She'd somehow materialized right behind us in line. She pointed a perfectly manicured finger at me, straight at the poor self-checkout attendant who was just trying to keep the peace. "Does he work here?" Because he was incredibly rude to me in the baking aisle, refused to help me, and I want to report him. The attendant, bless her soul, didn't even flinch. She just took a slow glance at me, my skull t-shirt, my cargo shorts, my wife and daughter waiting impatiently. Then she looked Pia dead in the eye and said, in the calmest, most professional voice possible, "Ma'am, no. He doesn't work here. Our employees wear red polos and khakis. He's clearly a customer." Oh, the look on Pia's face. Her cheeks went from vaguely annoyed to bright, beet red. Her jaw clenched, and she looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. She stammered something incoherent and quickly looked away, suddenly finding the floor fascinating. Sarah and I exchanged a glance, and then, completely unable to help ourselves, we just burst out laughing. It wasn't mean-spirited, not really. It was just pure, unadulterated relief and vindication. The attendant even cracked a tiny smile as we walked away. It was the perfect ending to a ridiculous outing. Pia, darling, maybe try reading someone's name tag next time?
Liking the vibe so far? Hit that subscribe button and stick around, the next story's even better.
You know, after 30 years on the force, I thought I'd seen it all. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for the day a little old lady, high on self-righteous indignation, got herself arrested for assaulting a police sergeant, all because she thought I should solve her homeless problem while I was off duty in my retired patrol car. And trust me, it was a wild ride. That morning, I, Jasper, was just minding my own business, enjoying the kind of sunny, peaceful day retired life promises. I was cruising around in my pride and joy, my old police cruiser. Yeah, I bought it from the department when I retired. It's got that classic look, still carries the markings with clear red decals. Thank you very much. And honestly, it's just a comfy ride. I'd pulled over near a park to answer a quick text when this woman, probably in her late 60s, came storming up to my window. Her face was already a picture of outrage, scrunched up like a forgotten lemon. She slammed her hand, not too hard, but with intent, on my door. "Officer," she practically shrieked, her voice thin and reedy. "Finally, I've been waiting for someone to do something about this." I blinked, genuinely confused for a second. "Ma'am?" "Don't ma'am me," she snapped, jabbing a finger towards a cluster of trees where a couple of homeless folks were quietly sitting. "Those derelicts, they're ruining the park. They're ruining my city. You need to get them out of here right now." Now, I've had my share of crazy calls, but this was a whole new level of entitlement. I leaned out a bit, trying to be polite. "Ma'am, I understand your concern, but I'm actually retired. See the decals? I'm not on duty anymore. I can't really do anything about that." Her eyes narrowed, and a vein started throbbing in her temple. "Retired? Don't you lie to me? You're in a police car. You're a police officer, and it's your job to deal with people like that." She pointed at the homeless individuals again, who hadn't even looked our way. "Go tell that man to leave. He's probably trespassing." I sighed. This was going nowhere fast. "Look, I can't tell him to leave. I don't have that authority. I'm just a private citizen now, driving my own car." That's when she really lost it. "Oh, so you're just going to let them squat here? What kind of police officer are you? You're unprofessional. You're a disgrace to the uniform." "Ma'am, I'm not wearing a uniform," I said, gesturing to my Hawaiian shirt. "And I'm not a police officer right now." She started muttering about lazy cops and people who don't do their jobs. The yelling was getting louder, and honestly, I was starting to attract more attention than I liked. This lady was making a scene. I decided the best course of action was to call the non-emergency line myself and let the actual police handle her. I pulled out my phone, ready to dial. But before I could even unlock it, I heard the unmistakable wail of sirens. 2 squad cars, lights flashing, pulled up behind me, blocking my exit. My heart sank a little. "Oh, for crying out loud," I mumbled. The lady, however, looked triumphant. "Aha, see? I knew you were lying. They're here for you." 2 young officers got out, looking a little confused by the scene. "Everything all right here, sir?" one asked me while the other eyed the agitated woman. "Officer," the lady screeched, pointing a finger at me like I was a criminal. "This man here, he's impersonating a police officer. He's refusing to do his job. He wouldn't even tell those vagrants to leave the park." I put my hands up, palms out. "Officers, I'm Jasper. I'm a retired officer from this department. This is my personally owned vehicle. I've been trying to explain that to her, but she's insistent." The officers exchanged a glance. One of them, a rookie I vaguely recognized, walked around to the back of my cruiser, clearly reading the retired police vehicle decal. He nodded. "All right, Mr. Jasper, we understand, ma'am. He's not impersonating anyone. He's a retired officer." But she wasn't having it. "He's making excuses. He's a bad cop. He just doesn't want to do his job. Why aren't you doing something about those homeless people?" Now she was yelling at them, getting right in the rookie's face. I just sat in my car, shaking my head. It was surreal. These poor kids were dealing with her because she called 911 on me for not doing my job, and now she was ripping into them for doing theirs. Just then, another unit pulled up, a patrol supervisor, a sergeant I knew slightly. Sergeant Miller. He walked over, assessed the situation, and his expression went from neutral to, "Oh, this again." "Ma'am," Miller said, his voice calm but firm, a true professional. "You need to step back. This is a retired police vehicle, and Mr. Jasper is not on duty. He's done nothing wrong. You also shouldn't be calling 911 for this type of issue, especially under false pretenses." "False pretenses?" she shrieked, her voice hitting a new high. "You're all complicit. You're all lazy. You're all bad people for letting them stay." And then, unbelievably, she poked Sergeant Miller directly in the chest. You're the worst of them all." Miller's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of surprise, then hardened. Ma'am, that's enough. You need to calm down. She didn't. She poked him again, harder this time. Don't tell me to calm down, you incompetent. And that's when it happened. She raised her hand, not just to poke, but to shove him. Miller, with decades of training, reacted instantly. He caught her wrist, securing it, and in one fluid motion, the other officer was there, taking her other arm. You're under arrest, ma'am, for assault on a police officer and disorderly conduct, Miller stated flatly, his voice now devoid of any patience. She struggled, screaming profanities as they cuffed her. It was a proper scene. Pedestrians had stopped. Phones were out. The homeless people she'd been complaining about were now staring, wide-eyed, at her being led away in handcuffs. Sergeant Miller walked over to my car, shaking his head. He looked tired. Jasper, man, I am so sorry about that. She called us saying an officer was refusing to act, and then, when we verified you were just a retired guy, she pivoted to saying you were impersonating an officer and being unprofessional. Crazy stuff. He paused. We're definitely pressing charges on her. I just let out a long, slow breath, a mix of disbelief and relief washing over me. Don't worry about it, Miller. You guys handled it perfectly. He gave me a wry smile. Some days I miss retirement. I just chuckled, waved, and started my engine. As they loaded her, still squawking, into the back of a squad car, I pulled away. On my way out of the park, I stopped at a little deli, picked up a couple of sandwiches, and circled back. I handed them to the homeless person she'd been so enraged about. He looked surprised, then grateful. Just a little something, I told him. Some people just need to learn a lesson about minding their own business. As I drove off, I couldn't help but smile. That lady might have had a bad day, but I bet she learned that just because someone's in an old police car doesn't mean they're her personal problem solver. And sometimes thinking you're entitled to tell others what to do lands you in handcuffs. What a world, eh?
Okay guys, buckle up because this isn't your usual Karen asked me to help in a store I don't work at story. This one's about an old boss who absolutely refused to believe I didn't work for them anymore. I'm talking weeks of relentless harassment, even after I'd formally resigned, packed my desk, and basically mentally moved to another planet. It got so wild I almost wondered if I was losing my mind or if she was... So I'm Aubrey, fresh out of college, super stoked to land a gig at this local interior design studio. Dream job, right? All those Pinterest boards finally paying off? For about a month it was great. I was learning, sketching, soaking it all in. Then the soaking it all in turned into drowning in it. Within 3 months, I was a zombie. Full-time student, working 8-hour shifts, 6 days a week. And it wasn't just design work. I was scheduling consultations, meeting with clients, driving samples all over the city, and, oh yeah, running personal errands for the boss. My brain felt like a deflated balloon. My body ached constantly. I was so burnt out I could smell the char. I knew I had to bail. It wasn't sustainable. So I typed out my resignation letter, polite but firm, explaining I needed to prioritize my studies and health, handed it in, felt a massive weight lift off my shoulders. Freedom, or so I thought. Less than 24 hours later, my phone blew up. It was my boss, her voice a frantic, high-pitched squeal. Aubrey, where are you? You have to come in. We're swamped. I was baffled. I resigned. Boss's name. Remember? But she just kept pleading, talking about how dire things were. Being the softie I am, and still feeling a tiny bit of guilt, I agreed to come in for just one day to help tie up loose ends. Big mistake. Huge. I show up, expecting to briefly train someone or help organize files. Instead, she shoves a schedule at me. Okay, so I need you to confirm these 2 consultations, drop off these fabrics to Mrs. Henderson, and then measure the Denver's living room. App. I just stared at her, my jaw practically on the floor. Excuse me? I quit. I literally resigned yesterday, she actually scoffed. Quitting is unprofessional, Aubrey. That's not how you succeed in this industry. I felt my blood start to boil. Unprofessional? I'd been busting my butt for this woman, doing the work of 3 people, and I was unprofessional for prioritizing my well-being? Then came the real kicker. We just need you to help out until we find a replacement. I couldn't help but blurt out, "A replacement for me?" I thought I was the replacement for someone else. The whole situation was surreal. And then, with a straight face, she declared, "I'm not going to let you quit, Aubrey." That's when it clicked. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was pure delusion, or maybe manipulation. I stared at her for a long moment, the absurdity finally hitting me. You don't get to tell me if I quit or not, I already did. I turned, walked out of that office, and didn't look back. The moment I got into my car, I blocked her number and her work email. Done? Over? Kaput? But she wasn't done. Oh no. The calls started from different numbers. Then emails from her personal account. "Aubrey, you're leaving us in a bind. This is unprofessional. Think about your future." Each message felt like a little pinprick, slowly deflating my peace. I ignored them, trying to move on. But it was like she had a tracking device on my mental state. Then it got really creepy. She started calling my parents' house. My mom, bless her heart, was just confused. "Aubrey, your old boss is asking where you are, says you missed a meeting?" That was it. That was the final line she crossed. This wasn't just about a job anymore. It was harassment. I called my mom back, explained everything, and had them block her too. I realized just ignoring her wasn't working. It was feeding her delusion. So I unblocked her personal email, drafted one last icy cold response. It was concise. It listed the reasons I resigned: burnout, personal tasks, excessive hours. It stated unequivocally that I would not be returning. And I finished with something like, "I no longer work for you, and any further attempts to contact me or my family will be considered harassment. Sent." Then blocked her again with a satisfying sense of finality. And guess what? It worked. After 2 weeks of this absolute nightmare, the silence finally fell. She actually gave up. The relief was immense. It sounds crazy, I know, but standing my ground against someone who truly believed they owned my time and my decisions felt like a monumental victory. So if you've ever had someone try to walk all over you, remember this: you get to draw the line. And sometimes you gotta draw it with a big, thick, permanent marker.
Roll right into the next one. It's waiting for you.